If it is a wonderful time today and a wonderful time to start thinking about how in the world we're going to get through our last few weeks of the year. First off, I want to say thank you everybody for showing up, showing out throughout this year. And one of the things I do want to give a shout out to for our actual the listeners who are in other countries. So I think the first country to actually watch this show heavily is obviously the US. Shout out to the US. Secondly, surprisingly, it's actually the Philippines. Followed behind the Philippines is the Netherlands. And then after the Netherlands, we have Germany. So I just want to say thank you all for tuning in wherever you're from. If you can, just go down and leave it in the chat. Let me know where you're at and see how this thing goes. So I am doing this new on this particular platform, so bear with me with all the fun things that we used to have. So I still got to build this platform out. So what are we talking about today? And I want to get into the meat and potatoes of this one. So we're talking about le coins. And put it next to the mic so y'all can hear the coins, the coins, the coins. The reason why we're talking about the coins today, because I've always been curious. I'm not sure about you, but you know, we have these pieces of metal in our wallets, and we just kind of look at them and just kind of like, okay, they hear, they talk about different things, they take up space in our pockets, and we also try to look at some of the designs that are on the back of them. Like for this quarter that I'm holding up for you all, it has a it looked like a gray heron. And this one it says Bombay Hook on the back of it. 2015 coin. So this is just another quarter. And then I have another quarter that actually says the word 25 cents on it. So the United States of America, the fourth Kanoko Koloa. I believe this is for one of the local Native Americans tribes that are here in the US. This is, I'm showing it up on the screen that this is the 25-cent quarter. And for those of you who are listening on audio, that's the reason why I read this to you. So you can actually hear about it. Now, we also going to dive into the nickel, how the nickel came about as well. And then we have the dime. I noticed the back of the dimes haven't changed in many years. As far as I can remember, it's always been like the torch, the leaves that are on it. It always had one dime. And then you always have "In God We Trust," Liberty on the front. And don't judge my fingernails. All right. And then obviously we have the penny, which is no longer in production as we go through. Okay. So, we have these coins. We're trying to figure out what the heck it's all about. How did it come about? And what are we doing with these things? So this is what we're going to be diving into. Is just kind of learn about the history of the U.S. Mint. Now, some of you be like, "Man, what is the Mint? I've never heard of it. What is it all about? Where does it come from?" And so I have a little show and tell, just kind of hopefully it would expand your mind a little bit on what it is that we're dealing with here. So let me see if I can share my screen. Actually, I might just share the whole window, but we'll see. Um, let's see. Give me a moment here as we try to break this down because it's a lot of things that we deal with today, and it really it's interesting to see. Well, I'll break this down. Let me do it this way. I have so many tabs open. I was researching this, and I just want to make sure that I had enough information to kind of keep you all entertained and learn something new today. because the US Mint is really interesting to me. Like, how many of you remember having those gold $1 coins and used to pass them out and used to collect them? You're like, yeah, how many $1 can I get for these? And so forth. Um, and then you'd be like, man, I want one of those. And then they used to be really popular on TV. It was like, hey, have you want to get a collector's coin? You can have President so and so on it, or get a commemorative coin with this one. It needs commercial, and like, why would you buy it from these people that do it that way when you can actually go to the US Mint and actually buy your own collector coins? So it's actually pretty cool to see what's going on. Hey Lisa, thank you for stopping by. I do apologize, it's not showing anything on the screen, but we're gonna get you out there, get something up. I just gotta find the right thing to show up. I'll just show this. It's fine. And I gotta show my face. Where's so keep in mind that this is all fantastic, new to me. Still trying to learn this particular platform. Oh, that's what it looks like. Okay. So thank you, Lisa, for stopping by. So we're talking about the US Mint and how it all came about. Now, diving into it, we gotta first figure out I mean, not just the history, but really understand its mission. And one of the things is that we have to kind of think about is that the US Mint, first off, what the heck is it? The US Mint is really just an agency within the executive branch, and especially the Bureau of the US Department of Treasury, which is responsible for producing the nation's coins and managing bullion. And what the heck is a bullion, you might ask? Well, I'm asking that same question. So we're going to look up what the heck is a bullion. Because, for us in this particular show, I like to break down all the words so we all understand. So, a bullion is a gold or silver bulk before coining or valued by weight. So, when you think about this is what they do. They try to they manage gold, silver, copper, the things that actually make coins. While it operates under the Treasury Department, it ultimately drives its authority from Congress, which authorizes its coinage. So much so, you actually start thinking about it. Well, let's think about the birth of the coin, right? So you got to remember, it's so long ago, way back in like the 1790s. So back when um back when the US was in its infancy and we were just getting our 15th state. And that 15th state would have been Kentucky. And during that time frame, we got to think about it, like the US was still being built. And because of that, we had to try to regulate as much as we can before we start managing everything. So you'd be like, all right, well, if Kentucky was the 15th state, what were the states prior? Just so you can understand what was going on around that time frame. What were the first 15 states? I'm actually trying to get all this U.S. history in here. Okay, so we got to remember the first 13 states. We got to go from there, right? So we got to look at Delaware, Pennsylvania. We have New Jersey, Georgia, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Maryland, South Carolina, New Hampshire, Virginia, New York, North Carolina, Rhode Island, and plus Vermont was the 14th state, and Kentucky was the 15th state. And during that time frame, that was between all of this was between 1787 and 1792. So just to kind of give y'all some background about that. But you'd be like, man, what else happened during that time frame? So You got to remember this, everything is going down the pipeline. So during this time frame, Lisa, you would love this, is that the US stock exchange actually got established in 1792 as well. And because of that, that's when they started signing the paperwork to make it happen. And I actually thought that was pretty cool. So Met come around at the same time, as well as the US stock exchange. And because of that, it's interesting to see how well and how thought out everything was around that time frame. Like, what is it that makes it exciting around the New York Stock Exchange that had to start in 1792? So, when you really think about it, money really kicked off in, I would say, give it about another 8 years, and everybody really had some money to start investing and really taking things to the next level because it seemed like they also established a lot of the riverbanks around that time frame. So I want you to kind of think about when we talk about history, you also got to think about globally. What are the things that are happening when somebody say, "Oh yeah, this happened around the same time." Really take a look at it because right now, even though we could say like, "Oh yeah, with the presidency, everything like that happened," but then other people like, well, we had the worst tsunamis that year, or the penny stopped being produced that year. We had the biggest fraud. Like all this stuff happens within a year, and so many things can happen within 365 days. So I want you to start when you start listening to timelines. I want you to start thinking about what other things that were happening around that time frame that could actually impact the way how you know the US or things were impacted during that time. So we got to remember that all of this came about because of the Coinage Act. And because of that Coinage Act, we have to kind of think about some of this monumental moments, like what was going on. How did we even get here? Which revolutionized and reveals that a complicated financial reality in the young United States. So during the colonial period and under the Articles of the Confederation, commerce relied really on a chaotic mix of foreign and colonial currency. So, which they had livestock and even produce. So, like, hey, I got two corns, two ear corns. Um, can I get some milk? Still back in that bartering system. And then also, you got the articles that authorize individual states to mint their own coins. So, like I was showing you earlier, some of these coins in the back of them actually have different states on them or different events that was going on. And the Constitution, which then ratified in 1788, changed everything by specifically giving Congress the power to coin money and regulate its value. So while that's one thing, it's like if you ever look at US history of money, so the next time I come through here, I'm gonna talk about paper money next and how that all started because each state used to make its own money, meaning they started out with coins as we're talking about today. But a lot of states used to make their own dollar bills and put whoever they wanted on a dollar bill. So we'll talk about that next time. But we got to keep it here. And because of that, the government took over. And by them taking over, this kind of set the stage for the national standard. In 1790, George Washington urged Congress to even develop a uniform currency. Following this, Alexander Hamilton, the first Secretary of Treasury, submitted his comprehensive plan for the Mint in 1971. The Coinage Act, which came in April 2nd, 1792, this officially created the mint for the purpose of the national coinage. And let me go to another map here. Oh, I'm actually showing this one. I'm gonna show some other cool stuff. Where we at? If y'all want to follow. Go with this one. I'm gonna have to share my screen, so just give me one moment here because I want to show the whole my whole screen because I have a nice, lovely little map of everything. Oh yeah, we can use this one. Let me share my screen. So I get. I realize this thing doesn't do well with like auto adjusting. So we're gonna get there one of these days. Okay, there we go. Oh, that's how it does. Okay. All right. So we talk about it's almost like the birth of a nation, but the birth of a coin. And this is where we're dealing with. So we got to look at how the location of the very first capital, which was in Philadelphia, and David Rittenhouse, appointed by President Washington. We're looking at the milestone of building the new Constitution and delivered the first coin since the operation or the setup of the U.S. Mint in 1793 with 11,178 coins. Well, copper cents. So we got to look into that process. So we got to remember that a lot of this stuff was, um, they try their best to do no kings, only liberty. So if you ever notice, you only see Lady Liberty on a lot of the coins. And that was done on purpose because we want to kind of showcase that, liberty is what we're going towards. And because of that, it really helped out with laying out the foundation for the way how we operate today. So remember the first building that was rectified by the person in the US Mint. And it's really made clear to kind of produce uniform coins because these materials that were used, it was copper, silver, and gold, which are the top three today that we use. Well, the copper, which was a half cent and cent, then the silver was used for the half dime or the nickel, the dime, the quarter, half dollar, and dollar. And then you had gold, which was the quarter eagle, which is $2.50. You got the half eagle, which is 5 cents. And then you have the eagle. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not 5 cents. The half eagle was $5. And then the eagle was $10. So we kind of have to look into that as well. Um, and how that all came about. So while the act was talking about the future coins, the first coins really struck were the half dimes, which is the nickel, which we have here, and it rumored to actually be silverware provided by George and Martha Washington. So by March of 1793, the mint was actually delivered the first mass produced circulation of so many coins of these 11,178 coins or cents. The penny or cent was one of the first coins made by the mint establishment. It sounds like I'm running all over, but we get in there, okay? But what exactly is money beyond the stamped metal? Like before the first cents and half dimes that could circulate and really build the concept of shared medium of exchange, which already evolves thousands of years, then you can really transition history from money coins and the shift. So and now we have, we're walking into the gold rush. So remember, gold was one of those top plate things that a lot of people were going for because we had to use gold to kind of make some of the coins, as we mentioned earlier. And this has kind of brought in that new wealth where Congress had to pass legislation in 1835 to establish three new branches of mint, bringing the coining process directly to the source of gold. So remember, we had to try to figure out where do we really house the money and where does it go? And it's so much so that these branches um, are still alive today. So you can actually go to Philadelphia to actually tour the the mint and watch the process being done. So remember that gold rush that they talked about? Um and like even though they talk about 1835 far as gold, but remember in 1854 they started utilizing the gold rush in Nevada and everybody was going all the way out there, all the way out to California. And people were using pickaxes to kind of get through, pick up some of that gold. Um, so they talk about how the different branches were created. They got San Francisco, California in 1854. We have Denver, Colorado in 1862. And you have Carson City in Nevada in 1870. So even though gold was utilized for mint, we had to make more of it because everybody is the standard now. So no longer do you have to trade your ears of corn for milk. People are looking for money. They want hard value, hard cash. And that's why we need to look into. So, we kind of moved along from the shells, the rocks, and feathers, and in some cases, the teeth to to conduct commerce. To now, we start looking into um, how we actually utilizing our finances in hard coins. So today, with modern mint, um, sorry about that. Focus on modern mint, which is nationwide. We got to look at the production. So we got Philadelphia, Denver, Colorado, San Francisco, and we have West Point, New York. Um, the bullion, which we found out is holding the copper, the silver, and the gold. You're looking at Fort Knox, uh, Kentucky. So we got Fort Knox, Kentucky, which is securing the nation's gold reserves, and then you also have the headquarters, which is in Washington D.C. Central Administration. Now, I could tell you this: I think they only allow you to tour a couple places if you ever want to go. So I'll say double check the local listings. Well, actually, we might go over it a little bit and how we actually come across all of this. So we got to remember that the bullion coins. Um, are still available, and these includes just a proof of uncirculated version of coins. These are like congressional gold medals or commemorate coins that you can get. And then also they have the quarter series. I'm sure some of you have quarters right now. If you have them inside your pocket, just take a look at it. So you have some of them that are the 50 state coins or the 50 state quarters program, which ran for about 10 years, starting in 1999. And then the Mint continued the thematic quarter designs that include the America the Beautiful Quarters program, which honors the national parks and cities and sites that are around. And they have the ongoing Woman Quarter program, which began on the shipping of January 2022 in honor of the figures of Maya Angelou, Dr. Sally Ride, and Wilma Mankiller. No, she did not kill any men, but that's her name. And then also they got the dollar coins, which are also in circulation, which is the $1 coins. And they also suspected near the end, I mean, they got suspended near the end of 2011. And also, for example, they have like some international collaborations. Back in 2024, the US Mint and the Royal Mint partnered to create a collective design pairing the figures of Liberty and Britannia for the coin for the first time. So we gotta look into the process of these coins. I know this sounds pretty exciting, right? So it used to take like 14 men to even create the first one. To now they're creating well over, I'll say 17.8 billion coins a year. It's too many to count for it per day. I haven't took the tour yet, so I can't tell you that. But they're using high end machinery to create that. So now you got to look at to the anatomy of these coins. How are they actually produced? Like, what do they look like? Um, so we got to look into how the penny is set up. So the penny mostly is copper plated zinc. So if you ever cut a penny before, there's really you can see it inside of it, which is 97.5 zinc and 2.5% copper. Then we have the nickel, which is a solid alloy. I believe this is the only um, product that is completely just one layer. So you have a solid alloy, which is 75% copper, 25% nickel, and then you have the dime, which is the copper nickel clad, where you're looking at about 91% copper and 8.33% nickel. So this one doesn't break down a little further. I have another diagram. Let me see if I can pull that up for you all right quick. Double check the chat, see how y'all are doing out there. Y'all looking good, looking good. All right. So let me see if I can pull up the look at my stuff. Where's that one? Okay, there we go. So this one right here, I do like this one a little better. It kind of breaks down the stuff. The makeup. So the quarter is actually 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel for the quarter, which is actually interesting on how you look at it. It's like we all walking around with copper plated things. Like we have so much value inside of these, and it doesn't seem exciting anymore. So, I mean, do we make this work, or how do we make this work? And actually, I will make this particular sheet downloadable. So if you ever want it and you can actually print this out, you can. For like if you got little children, little kids, just kind of show them like the US Mint and how it's laid out. Just learning about the currency. So I think this will be good. That is a good question, Lisa. So Lisa asked a question: what inspired this? No more pennies. Let's go ahead on and look that up because that is something that I think that we can look into. What inspired no more pennies? Inspired. And that's the reason what got me into learning about the US Mint is like what in the world um are we doing if we don't have the pennies? So the main thing that they said that over the decade the cost of making a penny just became more expensive than its actual worth. So combine that with the slow circulation and the national move towards electronic payments, and the math simply no longer supports keeping the penny in production. And that is really interesting to say because when I did the tour for the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, that was one of the things that the guide talked about, which was we need to make sure that the money is being circulated. The reason why a lot of things aren't being utilized is because the money isn't being circulated. The credit cards are being used. And so that was around the time frame he said that the $500 bill stopped being in circulation because of the credit card. And I think the $500 bill and the $1,000 bill stopped being in circulation because of the credit card. So just imagine you could just walk around with a $500 bill back in the day and just be fine. But because of the credit card, you get that. And now because of everything going digital and almost to the point where we rarely have any cash, um, we are looking at the process of not having that ability of utilizing the penny. So it gets you to think, well, how much longer are these coins that we have in our wallets? Whoops, drop some. Will be valuable because if it's just on a trust factor, or they call it fiat currency, then where does that really leave us? So, and the reason why the dollar was created was because coins got heavy. And if the coins are getting heavy, then you know what I'm saying? So it gets you to think about this stuff. But um so yeah. So that's that. Let's see. We got the coin situation, we got the penny. Let's go on back to this. Okay. So we're going to talk about the precedents of the coin. And this is kind of like what was the first? Who did it first? Who did it right? The first thing we're going to start off with, who was the first real person on a coin? And that will be Christopher Columbus and Queen Elizabeth in the commemorative coins for the World's Columbian Exposition. Now we had the first living person, which is Governor T.E. Killoy, appeared on the Alabama Continental half dollar. Because remember, the states used to create their own coins. And in modern day, they continue to feature prominent non presidential figures on the circulation on coins. So keep in mind that you can be alive to be put on these coins. However, it has to be a congressional approval because remember, the mint is under the executive branch. So that means that Congress had to vote on these people being put on particular coins. Now, it's unlike the dollar bill, you have to be dead for about, I think they said 70 years before you can actually be put on a dollar bill. There is no living, currently, there is no living person. So right now we did talk about, I did mess up my numbers here. So it's 9.5 billion coins actually being created as of we talk today. But also these numbers that I have, these are back in 2024 numbers. So let's think about it that way. And so, but in circulation based on the 2014, being the 2014 budget, they were talking about they're going to have circulation of $9.5 billion coins circulating. But they make so many coins a year. Now there are some coins that aren't being in circulation and that you can actually go purchase, which are like for collectors or investors. So investors will usually buy like gold or silver bullion coins, and they consider just precious metals. But then you also got collectors, which is proof uncirculated and commemorative coins to celebrate American history. Like they have like the Lady Liberty on like a coin. And then you have congressional gold medals, which are the highest expression of the national appreciation, which is pretty cool. So, you know, just keeping everybody together and what we're doing forward is that the US Mint does not make money, just make money. It also renders the story of the nation in metal, creating a tangible artifacts in US history that pass through the hands of millions every day. Oh, they even put like a little fake QR code on here. That is cool. So if you ever want to learn more, you can always go to usmint.gov and actually check it out at US Mint Coin Classroom. They have some really good products on there. And also, if you want to deep dive into history, you want to learn more about it, by all means, go for it, check it out. Go forth and conquer. Um, So I did want to share that today because I actually plan on doing a money tour next year. I want to do like almost each year, like probably like maybe every quarter. I'll try to go to different parts of the government branches just to kind of do a tour and learn more about what's out there. Because I could share with you. I know I'm sharing this early, but I'll probably do a deep dive into it later. But soon I need to go get I need to go get a thing so I could post this up here. So I did when I went to my tour to the Bureau of um what's the name? Engraving and printing. I actually purchased these $2 bills. And these are uncirculated $2 bills. I can actually spend them. I just have to cut them up myself. And the cool thing about it is that I'm the only person that have this. These are mine. And nobody else has touched these dollars. These dollars also are the only ones out there. And because these are, I call them uncircumcised. These are, do I got like a little rim shot over here? Can I get a little rim shit? A little rim shit. If I can find my stuff. I know it's delayed, but whatever. And because I'm the only one with this, the value of these $2 bills are more than the regular $2 bills because these are the one of a kind and they're not in circulation. And also, these are sequential numbers. These are worth more. All right. If I were to actually sell these, but I'll be talking about that maybe next week. I think I don't have anything next week. So double checking my calendar. Um oh man, I have an interview. So I do have a guest next week. So I'll be setting that up. Her name is Eve. Well, his name is Evan Poling. And we're gonna start talking about some cool stuff. So please be sure to check that out. We're going to talk about the biz retire. So people who looking into like buying a business and actually talk about how to buy one, sell one, or even if you have a business and you're trying to exit, how do you do that properly? So by all means, um, definitely, I'll say tune in next week because we're gonna have a lot of stuff to cover when it comes to your business and actually making it, you know, profitable. Or even if you're looking to buy a business, there's a lot of people that are actually planning on leaving their businesses because their children don't want it, their spouse don't want it if they have a spouse. They more than likely just ready to retire. And I'll be going into the stats and all of that fun stuff. So as we learn about money, I want everybody to start thinking about how is it that what are we utilizing our money for? What's the value of money? Where is it coming from? What are we doing with our day to day lives in this economy? So that's what I had today. If there's any questions, please let me know. If not, I just want to make sure that y'all all have a safe holiday. Um, and go on and be successful. Have a great time. Life is too short to kind of be sulking around doing nothing and just complaining about everything. There's too much out here. Like we just learned about money today. We learned about the U.S. Mint. I know it sounded a bit boring, but ultimately, I don't think it's boring when you actually have a good time with it and figure out why the money is in our pockets in the first place, or why things the way they are. How did we get here? That's the question you should ask yourself when you're looking into figuring out why is it that you know first off why the coins are made this way, or why the dollar bills are made that way. How did the size of the dollar bills, because or the size of the coins change? How did the so a lot of these questions I want you to start asking yourself. Ask or if you find out, leave a comment. Help somebody else out. I think this will be fun. What other ways or about money that you want to learn? Like how they figure out the width of it. What are the things? But this was just an introduction to the US Mint. And I just want you to go out there and explore. If you know anything extra about the US Mint, please put it in the comments. If there's something that interests you more, I would like to learn from you all too. So if there's something that you came across that you thought would be really interesting that everybody should know, drop that in the comments. I want to try to respond to you, and if I need to, I'll go on and probably do another show. If y'all want me to do another encore. Alrighty, everybody. So thank you so much. So I don't see any additional comments. And we're gonna have a end this out on a good note. Y'all have a good one. Since I don't have my outro music, I had to make my own outro music. Let me see this one. Now like that one. All right. Y'all be safe. I'm out. Peace. Kind of wish I had like credits rolling, but it's my outro.
The wallet's missing from the floor. It's got my secrets, nothing more. I checked the drawers, I checked the spikes. Left me hanging in my Nikes. Last night we tore up the town. Now my wallet's not around.